Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to DCF Men's Conference. We're so glad you guys are here. I mean, all of you are here as a testament to your friendship, your faith, your belief in God, obviously being invited by a member here. So let me first thank the members and men of DCF. There's a bunch of great, powerful men of God in this church. And we thank you for the extended family that you brought here today. And I just want to say how much we appreciate having fellowship with you and worshiping God. You know, this is not what you see on the news. This is what you see in real life, right here in this room. And unfortunately, this is not the popular visions that you see running across YouTube and Facebook and CNN and, God forbid, Fox. But at any rate, I'm not here to be political today. I'm here to tell you my journey to Christ. And I got 15 minutes to do it and 58 years to pack in it. But for the most part, I'm going to tell you about my past year. That's what I'm going to focus on the most. But let me just start by saying I was raised as a child as a Catholic. And what I appreciated about Catholicism is that they put God right in your face, because you knew that God was ever present and he could see, and they did it almost as a scare tactic, because if you do something wrong, God can see you. And so God, in my mind, was always right in my face, right on my shoulder, all around me. And so I was always aware of God's presence, and it molded my behavior. Even if it wasn't my character, it molded my behavior. And so, and I looked upon, I don't want to say frowned on, but I was skeptical of non-Catholic churches. The Baptist churches where a man, especially our people, a brother had all that power, sitting at the pulpit, and I didn't know who he was responsible to other than his conscience. Because when I visited other churches, I didn't see any governing body over this man that was ruling over this congregation. And he was dressed better than me. And I didn't understand a man of God having worldly desires. I looked at priests, ignorant as I was, naive as I was, as men that had given up worldly things to be a man of God. Little did I know all the debauchery and lewdness and things that were going on behind the scenes. As I grew up as a man, then I became aware of all those going on and understood the difficulty that Catholic priests had in abstaining, because it's a man's natural desire to want sex. And so, but I didn't realize that at 8, 9, and 10 years old. I thought they were special. Besides, there was a large body that they had to report to, more so than just the congregation. But as I grew older and had more friends, and I went to junior high school, college, and made more and more acquaintances and became more exposed to things, then I realized as a Catholic, I didn't know anything about God. I knew how to behave, but I did not understand what God's expectations of me were. And as importantly, I didn't understand what I truly could expect of God. And so therefore, I really didn't have a partnership. I just had a life that I was trying to do good things, thinking that would be okay. But as I learned the Bible through non-denominational teachings and got to understand that man that was in the pulpit that I originally thought didn't have a responsible person that they had, or a governing body, the governing body is the one and only, it's God. And that's who they're responsible for, too. And then it became clear to me that I needed to know more if I wanted to be more. If I wanted to more fulfill life in Christ, then I needed to understand what Jesus was saying to me. So I left the Catholic Church and just started seeking churches. I spent maybe 10 years just visiting lots of churches. I'm very analytical, I'm opinionated, I'm bold, I'm aggressive, and And I spotted things that I didn't like in one church, I wasn't going there no more. If I saw something I thought in the pastor's character was less than what I thought a godly man was, I wasn't going there no more. And I kept on going and visiting, and then through friends and women, from dating women that, women are always in the church. That's what's so special about us today, because we're men of God. But we know the women are there. And so, like myself, I'm sure many of you been in churches as a result of women. Even in HEB. That's a private joke for the group that was in Stewart. But as I started to hear the teachings of the Bible, and I got more and more interested in it, then I started to get a better understanding of my own existence and how my life can change if I really get in the Word. The problem was, as a young adult, and some of you in here right now may feel that way, that if we delve too deep in the Word, it denies us things that we've fleshly been accustomed to. And we don't necessarily want to change our behavior because we like what we're doing. We like it. It feels good. It only lasts a second, but it feels good. But what I found out as I got more and more into the Word was that the more I got into the Word, the better life became, and those things that I thought felt good, they fell to the side. And the things that really feel good, that has meaning, that made my life better longer, it came more to pass. As Pastor said, he knew my wife before she was my wife. And Pastor was over the ministry at the church that we were before, and my wife was over the singles ministry. And Pastor was kind of like the mentor, chairperson, overseer of that ministry. And what he did was help single people understand and to better live a Christian life, to lead towards a marital life and having a fulfilled life. And so when I met my wife, and she did, in fact, go to Cedric, Pastor said, and tell him all the things that I told her on the first date, and he said, that's going to be your husband. And we were committed to each other from the moment we met. And she is a true soldier for Christ. I mean, this is one rigid, straightforward walk. Now, I walk, but I might take a side step from time to time. My wife walks straight. Yeah. So at any rate, when Pastor was leaving our church, we didn't want him to go. And it's the Southeast community, Preston over here is a member of that church for many, many years. We love that church, and we love Pastor Said being the associate pastor. And I questioned him opening up his own church, and he said, well, Greg, I got the calling. And I said, are you sure you didn't make that call? Because I don't think you're supposed to be leaving here. But in fact, it was not only a calling for him, it was a calling for many of us. Because I got to tell you, I have not learned nearly as much in my entire life as what I've learned in the 4 years under Pastor Cedric Young at Disciple Christian Fellowship. I would be remiss if I did not tell you that the teaching of Pastor Young is so applicable, so practical, so pragmatic. You can apply what you hear on a Sunday sermon Sunday afternoon. It's usable information. He has a discernment for what God is telling him to tell us, and that is telling himself. And I'm not promoting our church, hint, hint, but I can tell you that this church, you will learn what God is saying to you. And now I can fast forward a year ago, even though it's like rewind now, but fast forwarding from those years that I've talked about. I felt at this church that I was learning, growing, and getting more solid now in my character, not just my behavior. Because I can control my behavior, but my character exposes my true self. And now they line up. I like to think they lined up most of my life. Because one of the things in life I never really wanted to be was a hypocrite. Because I was so outspoken, I was so out forward, that I wanted to portray what I really was and what I really felt. Now who I really am and what I really feel is more spiritual, is more guided by Christ than my ego. And the more I learn about God, the less of me that's in it. And I think that was alluded to in when Don was talking. A year ago, my wife and I, she's the queen of my life. I absolutely adore my wife. Right? We had a colonoscopy together, side by side, right bed next to each other. And she went about 20 minutes ahead of me. And so in the recovery room, they had moved her across the way. When I started coming out of recovery, our gastroenterologist was telling not only my wife, but anybody that was in the recovery room, that man has cancer. And I'm waking up to hearing that man and looking around and he's pointing at me. I had about a 2.5-inch nasty mucinous, which is snotty, tumor, big chunk of meat growing live inside my colon. And I wake up to hearing that I have cancer. He didn't wait till after he got test results. I wasn't sitting in his office with a suit on after taking an hour from my day to go visit the doctor. I'm in a robe, waking up to hear I have a giant cancer in my colon. And he wasn't telling it to me, I heard it by the way. So I'm like, you said I have what? He said cancer. You got the tumor, and he showed me a picture. I said, well, let's get it out. Immediately I knew this cancer did not have me. I had it, but it didn't have me. What I have learned in my Christian walk, specifically the last 4 years, is that I can rely on God. That I knew this was not going to beat me. And I said, well, let's get it out. May 13th, I found that I had cancer. May 24th, I had the cancer removed. Praise be to God. Got it all. But my scan showed cancer had spread. I had cancer in my stomach, in my pelvis, and in my bladder, AKA stage 4 cancer. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get rid of this too. And people are saying, well, that's stage 4. Okay, well, I don't care. So I switched from Methodist to MD Anderson. July 14th, July 16th last year was my first chemo session. And not only this church, but everyone that I come in contact, including many of the brothers over in this corner over here that I grew up with, some I recently met, the support was absolutely phenomenal. People were praying for me, people of faith, people of God from all over the United States had my name on billboards, in churches, in programs. And I said, I do not want to live my cancer on Facebook. So one of my good buddies had to take the post out of Facebook. But with all of that being said, today I stand here before you 4 months, 2 scans, clean, no sign of cancer, no sign of disease. God is good. During this past year, my faith has grown so much, not simply because of the progression of clearing the cancer with the chemo, because let me tell you, cancer ain't the measles. It's a bear. But you got to take hold of it and go. But God blessed my wife, my family, and I in so many ways. This has been the best year of my life with all the things that God has done for us in our life. But during this year, the biggest blessing, and this is what I'm going to leave you guys with, the biggest blessing that I got was starting to understand discernment. I asked God, I want to understand what you're saying to me more and more when you say it, instead of in the rear view mirror. Oh, that's what God was doing. We all see God's blessings when they reveal themselves, but we don't see it during the test or the storm when we have it and we go, why did that happen? Why is this happening to me? I just went through this. I asked God, when you do something, I want to see it now. And God gave me that. He gave it to my wife. And now when things happen, we embrace it. We don't wait for the silver lining, we anticipate the silver lining because we know it's coming. We learned here, God puts you through storms for primarily two reasons. If you are within God's will, He's perfecting what you're doing. You might need a little nudge to get where you're going a little bit better so you can experience it and expose it with more people. On the other hand, if you're in the wrong direction, if you're out of the will of God, God tugging your coat. He's giving you a storm for correction, giving you the opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to do an about face. But at either rate, now, and I submit to you that you want this as well. You want to know what God is telling you because He's telling you something all the time. So don't dismiss it and stop leaning on your own understanding is what we were talking about in Dawn's class. It's unfortunate we ran the two classes simultaneously. The Stu had a lively crowd and Dawn had some real great information. It would have been great to do both. Maybe we'll try 2 sessions next year. But understanding what God is saying to you at the time He's saying it, and that is a huge blessing and a huge advantage in your life. My time is up. I have more to say, but I can't say it now. I want to thank you guys and thank Pastor for asking me to share with you this last year journey. But I know one thing, I'm ready for anything now because I got it. And I want you guys to get it. And we did a slide that was running earlier that was showing 3 stages of photos for the men that submitted them. A childhood stage, a young adult stage, and a current photo. And, excuse me, purpose for that was so that you can look and reflect on your own lives, to look at how your age has progressed, now look at how your spirituality has progressed as you reflect in yourself. And so I encourage you guys to get more serious about what's in the Bible, because God does have expectations from us, and He promises us the things that we can expect from Him. I love you guys. I thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the conference. Amen.
Come on, say amen. Amen. Say amen again. Amen. I'm excited about all that God is doing in this place and in the lives of the men.